Labor Day is observed each year on the first Monday in September and is dedicated to the achievements of the American worker. It represents an annual national tribute to the contributions that workers have made to the strength, prosperity, and well-being of our country. Labor Day is different from many other national holidays. Most other holidays are connected to either a noted and respected person, a great battle or the end of a conflict, or a historical event. Labor Day is devoted to no single man or woman, nor to any event. It is simply a celebration of the achievements of the American worker. While most Americans take off work on Labor Day, other hardworking Americans, like those in the retail and service industries, along with those in law enforcement, public safety, and healthcare, observe Labor Day by working as usual. While Labor Day is a celebration of the workers and their achievements, the holiday originated during one of American labor history's most dismal periods. In the late 1800s, at the height of the Industrial Revolution in the United States, the average American worked 12 hours a day and 7 days a week just to make enough for food and a place to live. Children as young as 5 and 6 worked in mills, factories, and mines across the country, earning much less than adults. People of all ages, especially the very poor and recent immigrants, often faced extremely unsafe working conditions with little or no access to fresh air, proper bathrooms, and breaks. As people started working more in manufacturing rather than farming, labor unions started to grow. These unions began organizing strikes and rallies to protest poor working conditions and force employers to give their workers better pay and less work hours. One such event gave rise to what we now call Labor Day. In 19th century America, there was already a tradition of having parades, picnics, and various other celebrations in support of labor issues, such as shorter hours or to rally strikers. But most historians emphasize one specific event in the development of today's modern Labor Day. That pivotal event was the Parade of Unions and a massive picnic that took place in New York City on September 5, 1882. At that time, the labor movement was growing stronger. Many of the unions in New York prospered by joining together into one central labor union, made up of members of many local unions. On May 14, 1882, a proposal was made at the Central Labor Union meeting that all workers should join together for a monster labor festival in early September. A committee of 5 people was appointed to find a park for the celebration. They chose Wendell's Elm Park at 92nd Street and 9th Avenue, the largest park in New York City at the time. The date was set for Tuesday, September 5th. By June, they had sold 20,000 tickets with the proceeds going to each local union selling them. In August, the Central Labor Union passed a resolution that the 5th of September be proclaimed a general holiday for the working men in this city. At first, they were afraid that the celebration was going to be a failure. Many of the workers in the parade had to lose a day's pay in order to participate. When the parade began, only a handful of workers were in it, while hundreds of people stood on the sidewalk cheering them on. But then, slowly they came. 200 workers and a band from the Jewelers Union showed up and joined the parade. Then came a group of bricklayers with another band. By the time they reached the park, it was estimated that there were 10,000 marchers in the parade in support of workers. The park was decorated with flags of many nations. Everyone picnicked and listened to speeches from the union leadership. In the evening, even more people came to the park to watch fireworks and dance. The newspapers declared it a huge success and a Day of the People. After that major event in New York City, other cities began to pick up the idea for a fall festival of parades and picnics celebrating workers. There is still disagreement as to who first suggested this national day off. America's carpenters and construction workers, along with some historians, claim that it was Peter J. McGuire, the General Secretary of the Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners, and the co-founder of the American Federation of Labor. Others believe that it was Matthew McGuire, no relation to Peter, who was a machinist and ultimately elected as Secretary of Local 344 of the International Association of Machinists in Paterson, New Jersey. Either way, the first Labor Day consisted of a street parade followed by a festival for the recreation and amusement of the workers and their families. The idea of a working men's holiday caught on in other cities and towns across the country, and many states passed laws recognizing it. In 1884, the Labor Day observance was changed to the first Monday in September by the Central Labor Union. The union then urged other unions and trade organizations to begin holding similar working men's holidays on the same date. The idea caught on, and by 1885, Labor Day observances were held in cities nationwide. As with most things involving a potential day off, Labor Day became very popular very fast, and by 1885, several city governments had adopted ordinances calling for local observances of Labor Day. While New York was the first state to propose official statewide observance of Labor Day, Oregon was the first state to actually adopt a Labor Day law on February 21, 1887. In the same year, Colorado, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and New York also enacted Labor Day observance laws, and by 1894, 23 other states followed suit. Congress did not legalize the holiday until 12 years later, when a horribly tragic event brought workers' rights squarely into the public's view. On May 11, 1894, employees of the Pullman Palace Car Company in Chicago went on strike to protest wage cuts and the firing of union representatives. On June 26 of that year, the American Railroad Union, led by Eugene V. Debs, called for a boycott of all Pullman railway cars, crippling the railroad traffic nationwide. To break the strike, the federal government sent troops to Chicago. The troops were met with a wave of riots that resulted in the deaths of more than a dozen workers. 2 days later, in an attempt to repair relations with the American workers, Congress passed an act making Labor Day a legal holiday, and President Grover Cleveland signed it into law. Labor Day celebrations originally consisted of street parades and community parties. Speeches by important men and women were added later as the celebrations grew bigger. In 1909, the Sunday before Labor Day was adopted as Labor Sunday and dedicated to the spiritual and educational aspects of the labor movement. Labor Day celebrations have changed in recent years, especially in large cities. As massive displays and gatherings became larger problems for the police, fire departments, and public safety, especially in the big cities, the type of Labor Day celebrations have changed. However, thanks mainly to television, the internet, and social media, Labor Day speeches by leading union officials, politicians, and others are now delivered directly into the homes, swimming pools, and barbecue pits of Americans nationwide. The U.S. Labor Department's official statement regarding Labor Day reads, "The vital force of labor added materially to the highest standard of living and the greatest production the world has ever known, and has brought us closer to the realization of our traditional ideals of economic and political democracy. It is appropriate, therefore, that the nation pay tribute on Labor Day to the creator of so much of the nation's strength, freedom, and leadership, the American worker." Today, Labor Day is celebrated in cities and towns across the United States with parades, picnics, barbecues, fireworks displays, and other public gatherings. For many Americans, however, especially children and young adults, Labor Day represents the end of summer and the start of the back-to-school season.